Why did Trump win? Because people didn't believe it. If there was one time on earth, the whole world seemed to say, this man will never be president. In fact, they published magazines already saying that Hillary was elected president. They had to eat a lot of magazines. That means you have to throw them away when you call it eating it, you know.
Well, you know, Hillary Clinton wrote a book called What Happened.
Yeah, whatever happened to that book?
And my book answers the question. Hey. And the answer is that God intervened.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of people praying. You know, I prayed. I interviewed people that said, yes, we were seeking God. Mike Bickle said, we were praying that our country, that he would raise up somebody, and we didn't have anybody in mind. So God raised up somebody that none of us would have picked. None of us would have picked a casino owner.
No.
And somebody that a lot of people didn't even like.
Right.
But he was the right man at the right time. It takes someone that tough who doesn't care what people say about him. I mean, can you imagine the barrage?
Oh.
It's every day and it's multiple times a day, but he doesn't seem to care. And while I have not personally met, I did interview him, which is also in the book, but I haven't met with him since then. But people who have told me that when they're with him, he's like, everything's fine. It's not like he's all stressed out. You know, it's mostly ministers who are praying with him, but I think that God raised him up. And this is an untold story because even in the church, we don't very often talk about God raising up a leader. You know, we'll vote for a leader based on politics. You know, we like their policies on different things. But don't we believe as Christians that God is sovereign and that God has a will?
Yes.
So I try not to be dogmatic, but I try to make the case that God had a will. He answered our prayers. He answered our prayers in a way that we didn't expect, and that was Donald Trump.
Yes, amen.
This is one of the most contentious elections in history, according to everything we read. And why do you think that this was considered to be an argumentative, you might say, election?
It was every election would be somewhat contentious because you got different people vying. But this is a culture war. This is a culture war of really almost good against evil in a lot of ways. And there are people in America who don't believe in God. They're not church people. They believe that America should go in a different direction. And we were seeing our rights eroded, and we were seeing the country lurching to the left in a way that we'd never seen before. So those elements, it is part of why Donald Trump was raised up, was because of this tension that's going on. But thank God we had an election, and you know, Hillary Clinton is going around the world. She's in South Korea this week, bad-mouthing Trump. She can do all she can, but she's out of power. And there's a very limited amount, other than stirring things up, that she can do anymore. And Donald Trump, on the other hand, look how the economy has boomed.
Oh.
The stock market passed 23,000. Can you believe that?
No, it's incredible what's going on.
And then, of course, he signed these executive orders, which have helped with religious freedom, that are at least helping with the whole thing with abortion.
Yes.
He's cutting back regulations, which as a businessman I appreciate. You wouldn't believe all the paperwork during Obama that we had to fill out for really almost silly stuff. But the Labor Department wanted it for some reason, and we had to comply. He's cutting all that out.
Right.
I mean, when has a politician said, for every regulation you pass, you have to delete 2? I mean, when you hear about how many pages was Obamacare? You know, I don't remember. Was it like 1,000 pages? You couldn't even read it.
No, and most of Congress and they didn't even read it.
That's right. So
Nancy
we need to
Pelosi
roll some of that back and
Yeah.
simplify things. And I believe that Donald Trump is beginning to make a difference.
Yes.
And I'll just tell you something. I'll pass along something that a prophet, I won't necessarily name him, just take my word for it. He prophesied that Trump would have a very difficult first 10 months, and then things would shift. And I believe that in spite of what you see on the news every day, that there's beginning to be a shift in what's happening. you know, there are an awful lot of people who don't necessarily like Trump that actually like their 401k is going up because of the stock market.
That's right.
And there are a lot of people who chafe under the regulations, the environmental regulations, all the other regulations, you know, regardless of this culture war thing. So, you know, there's several levels. One is we want good government, of course. Right. But also it's the culture war thing, because the people that hate Trump hate you and hate me and hate what we believe in.
Yeah, hate Christians.
But they just, you know, we may get some attacks, but we don't get those kind of attacks because we're not worth it in their eyes. So it's laser focused. You remember how the sunlight, if you take a magnifying glass, you can make a fire? Yeah. It's almost like all of their anger is focused on Trump.
Yes.
And thank God he's strong.
Yeah.
Because
it's almost like they have an organized team that say today the word is going to be hate, or the word, you know, because you tune across all the news, they all say the same thing, all the anti-Trumpers. I have never seen division in the United States like this. There's always been division, but never black and white hate. They're you know, everything about Trump is dead wrong.
And also liberal and conservative, and, you know, even to some extent men and women. I mean, generational splits. It's horrible.
It's shocking,
So we need a change in the direction of our country.